everyone. Today, I would like you to meet Jesse Vowinkle, the sales director for Seamless AI. Jesse, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Lance. Excited to be here.
Well, Jesse, leads is a huge topic for every company. It's like the oxygen of your business, right?
Yes.
And what you do, I felt was so empowering for people to generate their own leads and do it in very little time. I mean, like minutes. And so, can you give everybody the 360 foot or 10,000 foot picture of Seamless?
I sure can. Thanks, Lance. So, yeah, Seamless AI is a real-time search engine built specifically to help you all find B2B leads. So, we built the search engine that essentially automates all the time that people take to build lists, find leads, get the right contacts in their accounts that they're trying to sell into. So Seamless, we're used by well north of 400,000 organizations and users around the world today, Lance. And our users have researched over 1 billion leads through our platform. And essentially it's all about two things. It's about great data. We specialize in finding real-time contact information, being a real-time search engine. So we kind of did away with the old big static database models, where Salesforce just did a study last year that said that 70% of databases typically deteriorate after 12 months. So you think about a 70% deterioration on a database. We didn't want to have another database, right? Just keeping up to date with that information is ridiculous. So we built a non-database that stays fresher, and it really helps people to save a lot of time, which we'll kind of get into, I think, a little bit later as we talk some of the real values of Seamless. But yeah, we're helping the entire world to connect opportunities and figure out who it is I need at my accounts to sell to, and then getting that data in a couple of seconds so they can maximize their time and productivity.
You're right, because in the past, people that would have databases that you could contact or use or query,
Mhm.
those databases were very old. But if
Yeah.
if you eliminate the database and you go to an instantaneous fetch,
Mhm.
it's always as real time as it can get because it's fetching it each time real. And then as you guys have features where you can take people's existing database and refresh it by matching it with current information and updating it for them,
Yep.
that's pretty impressive to be able to update that data instantly so that they don't have an old database themselves.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about time and being able to spend as much possible time as you can selling to your market and getting to your market with your message. And if you're tied up with bad data, or you're calling on people that worked at a company a year and a half ago because you bought a list from some database that only updates a couple times a year, that kind of stuff just slows you down, right? It slows down your sales reps, or it slows you down if you're an owner operator trying to run a business and be efficient. And so good data can supercharge and it can scale a business in minutes and hours, where bad data can set you back days and even weeks with time loss. So it's a huge priority for organizations today to make sure that they have the right data on who they want to sell to every day.
Right. And this is primarily a B2B database. So it's going to go through and look for people at corporate positions. So if you think about it, if you're a franchise or a broker or stuff, this is something where you can query it for, let's just say, I want sales directors, I want marketers, supervisors, managers, executives of whatever position from specific industries and specific states, right? So if someone's like, we need to place somebody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're looking for people. You can run your query on that and then pull up all the most likely candidates from your potential dream list of demographics and all that, and start reaching out to those people. And generating that list takes like minutes, right?
Yeah, literally minutes, Lance. So like you gave me the criteria. I'm like, Jesse, DFW area. I need anybody who's a manager, director, VP level seniority in a company that is located in the DFW area. That search criteria would literally take you 30 seconds to pop into Seamless, and you would see 6, 7, 8,000 results. And then you would just build a list of however large you need out of those results. So we're talking minutes instead of hours. And when we talk about not having that data, Lance, I mean, you gave me that assignment today. And you're like, hey, Jesse, I need to know the names of 50 vice presidents of companies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I need their emails, I need their phone numbers, I need their LinkedIn URLs. I need all the data on their company and how long they, all this stuff. That would take me, 50 people would take me 5, 6, 7 hours trying to do all that stuff by hand. Seamless AI, a list of 50 like that would take 2 clicks, would literally take about 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And you think about it, recruiting companies. If you
Mhm.
need to place
Yep.
somebody in a position in a certain area, Like you could really like if you're doing recruiting, I mean, you could nail it down to the profession you're looking for and the area you're looking for. I mean, all very, very handy. So,
Yep, exactly right.
well, I was just going to say, Jesse, are there anything that you've seen changing in the process of getting quality leads? Because things are always changing, and I want to make sure everybody's up to date on that too.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple things really change, man. So I've been, background. I've been with Seamless for almost 4 years, and so I've been in this realm for the last 4 years, and it's amazing, like the amount of change, even from year over year, let alone over 4 years. I mean, I think I started here pre-COVID, right? So pre-COVID, the world looked completely different. And then after COVID, world looked completely different. And yeah, so a couple things that I've really noticed have changed would be number one, the movement of people. So I don't know that we've ever lived in a time where more people change jobs and companies than they do right now. I think, last year I was reading some statistics on USA Today or Newsweek, and they said like 3 to 4 million Americans were changing jobs every month. So if you think about all that movement, how do you keep on top of all that, right? How do you keep up with that information if you've got your little HubSpot database and you checked on this person in January and you're still building and you haven't looked at that person in January? They could be at a third job by July now, right? So crispness of data and having fresh data it's so important. It's becoming a bigger challenge, a bigger and bigger challenge every day. So I've really seen the priority that I've seen in a lot of organizations is, hey, like this data that we might have a gold mine in our database and we have no idea, right? We may have some people who loved us 6 months ago, love the idea, they moved on to a new company, we've lost touch, didn't even know they left, right? So yeah, I think to answer that question, just a priority, a shift has come in the market that I've seen, that people are looking to say, hey, we need to, number one, we need to clean up all this mess that we have. Number two, Lance, I feel like people are as things like AI, right? We've seen Chat GPT, we've seen AI, and we're powered by AI, right? We're an AI company. But with the movement towards AI, people are looking for ways to scale outreach, scale automation, scale a lot of these things, and increase volume, yet keep personalization, right? And so I've seen a big trend towards that, and I know that we've certainly trended more towards how can we make the data even better, highly personalized? How can we help customers to build highly personalized lists? And so those are all things that I think, at least for right now, those are top priorities: scaling, automation, outreach, and then personalization, right? Not just the mass blast, the email 16 million people, hope one responds, like that kind of thing that worked in 2018, 2019. It feels like it's not the approach quite as much now in 2022, 2023. So yeah, those are a couple things that I've kind of noticed and come across.
Nice. And then I know that you do. I mean, you're really good at sales. Like I always enjoyed every conversation we've had.
Yeah, thank you.
And it seems like, you're just present, you're with people, and you make things happen quickly.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of consultative selling.
Yes.
What is your process for that? And how can other people kind of learn from that and learn from what you're doing?
No, really good question. So, consultative selling is my favorite kind of selling, Lance. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. No, I take a lot of pride in being consultative. I think a couple of things that I do. Number one is I don't skip discovery with a prospect. So I really like to learn about their exact problems, their pains, what gets them out of bed and what keeps them up at night, right? Like thinking about learning about that stuff, and then as I get that information, and I ask a lot of questions as I meet with clients and prospects, I ask a lot of questions so that I feel like I know them to the extent where I could recommend something that could help them, or steer them away from something that could hurt them. Right? That's all consultative selling is. It's saying, hey, look, I've got a product, but before I show you this product, let's make sure that there's even some, like, let's make sure that there's things that we, there's itches that we scratch, and there's things that we help, right? And so learning as much as I can about a prospect is always my biggest challenge. Also my favorite thing to do. I love to meet new business owners. I love to meet people and new companies, to learn their stories, learn what they're looking to achieve and what they're looking to improve on and make better. And then when it comes to the product, then the product it's more just like, hey, here's a great product, but based on everything that you told me, here's the 3 or 4 things you care enough about. And so really connecting that demo to that prospect. And then obviously, as we get to the numbers and finalization and stuff like that, I think a lot of times, closing is a natural conversation from there, right? Like, hey, you've had these problems. can you see how, how my product, how Seamless AI fixes these 3 or 4 problems? Yeah, we can. Well, hey, here's what it costs you to fix that problem. Let's take care of it, right? So that consultative approach, discovery is my biggest tip. Discovery. And for me, it's finding or tapping into a passion or a why. My why or my passion is I really love to help business owners, business people. I genuinely enjoy helping them. So prior to Seamless, I did commercial lending and commercial insurance. So I was always working with business owners in some respect, helping them grow their business, right? And Seamless is just another way. It's sales leads, right? It's your sales pipeline. It's your sales funnel. It's the lifeblood of your sales and revenue, right? And so the passion never really changed. It was just the tools and the means by which I'm helping a business now changed a little bit over my career. But no, consultative is the way. It's the only way to go, man. And people can buy from a bot now, Lance. I could buy from online from a bot without talking to people. What's going to separate talking to Jesse versus talking to a bot online and getting all the info I want? It's going to be Jesse. It's going to be my passion for helping them. It's going to be feeling like they're talking to somebody who cares and is invested in what they're doing and their outcome of their business, right? So,
Right.
oh,
Well, and so when it comes to, let's just say, clients who've checked out, gone dark, unresponsive, but they're good clients,
yeah,
and I've had these clients to where sometimes they've come back to me and they were uh they had a life event or something, and then they came back to me and they bought something.
yep.
But when you run into those situations, what is your thought process, and what are some things that you say or do
Yep.
that helps you re-engage with those clients?
Really good question. So there's a finesse here, Lance, because the priority or the only thing I'm looking to accomplish, if they've gone completely dark on me, I've already in my mind, I've kind of written them off to say, hey, look, um, let's just assume they're not buying anything. What would I want to say is my last impression with them? Right. And so what I like to do to revitalize those deals is I like to ask them things like I like to recap or I like to bring back up the initial need that they had when we first talked. It would be something like, hey, Lance, when we talked a couple months ago, you had mentioned you guys were having a problem doing A, B, and C. Have you found an alternative solution for that? Or are you guys still kind of kicking this around? Has something else come up? Have you bumped this back? I'm giving them some different I'm giving them permission to come back to me and say, hey, Jesse, thanks for reaching out. It shows I listened, right? Because I brought up something from a
Mhm.
week ago. It's not just, or I brought up something from 2 months ago. It wasn't just like, hey, Lance, you're hurting my feelings that you're ghosting me, right? So I like to bring
Mhm.
up stuff from a couple months. Hey, on our first couple conversations, you guys were running into this pain. Have you found a way to solve it? Gone a different route? Or are you, have you kicked this around? Or you push your timeline back? I'm going to kind of fish for that in a way. But genuinely, I just want to know where the breakdown was. And so for me personally, for me to sleep at night and have closure, we always talk, I laugh and I say like sales a lot like it's not like dating, right? You have like if somebody just like if you have 3 or 4 great dates with somebody, follow-up dates, right? And then they just go dark and never talk to you again, you're left wondering like, what in the world happened? I thought that went great, right? All I
Mhm.
want is an answer of what went wrong, right? And so when you take sales in that same approach, it's kind of the same way. It's like we had some great conversations. So hey, Lance, we had some great conversations, a couple weeks back. I haven't heard from you since. Did something change on your end? Did some priorities change or anything like that? I'm not going to be offended or upset if you say any of that. I just kind of want to know for myself. And oftentimes, Lance, that's met with a nice response because it's not like a, hey, you haven't called me in 3 weeks. Are you still in or not? You're interested in not, right? It's more of like, hey, Jesse, thanks for checking in. Sorry I went dark on you. Here's the reason why. Right. And it could be a lot of times it's something I can't do anything about right now. We didn't have any budget. My CFO killed the deal. We laid off our entire sales team, right? Whatever that case is, right? But there's other times like, hey, Jesse, thanks for reaching out. Sorry, my kid was sick for a week and a half. I haven't been able to, and so your approach when people go dark on you, your approach and how approachable you are is your tone, and whether it's a phone call or an email or a text message, your tone and how approachable you are. Oftentimes that's going to be the difference between how that message is received on their end and then they care enough to give you a response back, which it's something to go off of. But nobody's perfect at it, Lance. It's just kind of what I use, and it's always seemed to work pretty well for me.
Right. And I have seen that you know, a business conversation is easier to blow off because it's not personal,
Mm-hmm.
but too casual of a conversation is a mistake.
It
And
is.
so I found something that, you just rides in the middle. Like if I had somebody, one subject line or text
Yep.
that's really effective
Yep.
is everything okay?
Love it.
And that's all you say. And you know. Hey, is everything okay? Last time we spoke, um, things seem good.
Yeah.
And that is more human.
Hmm.
And that talks between, Lance and Jesse
Yep.
versus business and business. And all of a sudden they come out of that and they realize, I was talking to a real person with
Yep.
real concern and feelings, and you can get a good response if you slow down your communication and you give it time to just happen.
Yep.
And the other thing is talking too much or too over communication or long communications.
Right.
Nobody can do that. So I've seen high conversion at small chunks of communication that are clear,
Yep.
short, and easy to do. Like as an
I agree.
example, with an email,
Yeah.
if you write an email that you want an action on, if you can get that down to 1 to 2 sentences, way more effective than anything else,
Yep.
if it's possible. Sometimes it's not, but
Sometimes not. Yeah. And I share
yeah.
that same thing with my team too, Lance. I'm right with you. Like I think the short, to the point, yet friendly and inviting, right?
Hmm.
And then there's times where it comes back and like, hey, can you explain one thing for me? That's more of a complex, longer email or whatever. But no,
Hmm.
I totally agree with you. Just short, sweet, professional, to the point, polite, helpful, timely. I mean, all that stuff, right? It's there's a finesse to it for sure, but at the end of the day, we're all humans, Lance. Like you said it, we're all humans, and so I treat people like humans. I don't. We try not to treat them like numbers, and you're part of my forecasting for the month, so that's why I'm reaching out. Like, enough with all that, right? It's like, hey,
Hmm.
Lance, we had a great conversation. What happened, man? I thought you were going to sign last week. What happened? Are you okay? Is everything
Hmm.
okay? And just letting them talk,
Right.
and be human,
Right.
man.
Especially if you're kind of laughing with it. One of the things that I have found is that you use a word that I've used a lot. I don't necessarily use it when I'm talking on these calls, but I use
Mhm.
it when I talk to people in person. And that is the concept of thinking about businesses through the friction that happens at all steps of their process.
Yeah,
So you have and removing that friction, because that's what slows things down, it creates effort, and it kills deals.
yeah,
Time, effort, the feeling that certain things put off, like
yeah.
the words or whatever it is, it creates that friction, and
It does.
that's what's getting you. And if you can get rid of friction,
Yeah,
business becomes effortless.
it does.
So what are some points that you've seen of friction happening? Because so people have all these leads, right? So they have the leads from Seamless, but
Yeah,
now we want to take the chance to engage and convert those leads into buyers. So
yeah.
what are some points of friction and some things that you've found to eliminate or reduce that friction for people
Yeah.
once they're communicating with the leads?
That's such a good question. So I would say that one of the points of friction would be, once I have a list of leads, what do I do with it now? Like where do I go with it? What do I say to these people? So I found and I think it's something that we coach a lot of times, is pick a niche and get rich to an extent, right, Lance? Like
Hmm.
have an idea of what you're building that list of leads for. If I'm specifically building a list of leads in California, directors in California, certain industry, right? I'm going to have an idea of what I want to say in that messaging to most or all of them. And I'm going to put that stuff down in like a templated fashion, right? I'm going to make an email template of some sort. It's going to be personalized email template, personalized towards that ideal persona of people, right? That way, when I can go build that list, and it takes me 3 or 4 minutes to build that list almost effortlessly, I can run that right through that with that email template and send my messaging out. I'm not thinking of 25 different emails saying 25 different things to 25 different people. I'm gonna be tapped into the common talking points, pain points, if you will, value adds that we do for that, or exactly why I'm reaching out. So having a plan, having a strategic plan of like who it is I'm looking for and what it is I want to say to them, and then having that kind of done ahead of time. So then I can just go pull my list, put my email out with my template, and really automate that process. And again, eliminate friction, right? Also trying to do too many things at once, Lance, like trying to build a list or prospect 4 or 5 different verticals with 4 or 5 different personas of people. That it's almost the opposite of the pick a niche, get rich type strategy, right? It's just trying to do too much and trying to like mass hit everybody. Oftentimes, when you're the jack of all trades, you're the master of none, right? So
Hmm.
I see that a lot of time gets wasted in kind of like this mass approach where it's kind of scattered. I'm kind of looking here, then I'm kind of looking here, and I'm kind of looking here. Every time I do something like that, if I'm approaching 4 or 5 different types of leads, if you will, Lance, that's 4 or 5 different types of emails, different messages that I have to send out. Now I can't automate that. I can't make that quick. I can't make that fluent. I can't make that easy. So Just having a game plan ahead of time, and then building those lists around that game plan, and kind of working on that messaging ahead of time, I think will reduce a lot of friction.
Right. And you can go back to the existing leads, the research you have on the existing people that you've worked with,
Mhm.
to see what types, what positions, what industries have best responded
Yeah.
to your communications. And then you bring those dials into Seamless AI to create the list based upon your greatest hits of conversion within your demographics of the leads that you've worked with.
It's a great strategy, Lance. So I would say that what if you hired me as a consultant for 5 minutes and said, Jesse, here's what we need to do. We need to build a pipeline and fill our calendar ASAP. The first thing I would do is I would go back to your CRM, whatever you have, and I would look traditionally, historically, at your last 3 to 6 months of the meetings that you booked. Who were they? What were they? What were their titles? What were their roles? What were their like who were these people? And then I would try and emulate that and say, okay, if we've had the most success with this type of a person, let's go out and build that list and focus on that person and just go after all out after that. That's the really
Mhm.
cool thing about like when you target a prospect, or you do what we consider outbound or more proactive selling and lead generation, is you get to pick who you're going to leave the cave and try and go hunt for, right? That's the one thing that you can do is you can say, hey, I want this type of person. You get on there, you build a list of that type of person. So to your point, replicating who have we had good meetings with? What's our shortest sales cycles been with? What types of people were these? Let's go find 100 more of them and just share those success and say, hey, we've helped A, B, and C, same people, same problem, same situation as you're in. We've helped these people, share those case studies, share those stories. And that's what I would do. I would just go pick 100 random people that kind of fit a general criteria. I would look at success historically, and I would move towards that and build lists around that.
Yeah, build your future on your past.
Yep, exactly.
You know, one of the things that has always worked with me with any new venture or any new thing that I do, and I think all salespeople should do it, and they should do it when they are brought into an organization, is take and write down a list of, force yourself to write down the list of like the top 500 objections that you think that anyone's going to ask you.
Massive.
And at first, they're going to come up with like 10, right? And then they're going to have to work really hard to come up with that number. And
Yep.
then and then what you do is you condense all those into categories. Like you find out that it's really only about 10 categories.
Yep.
And then once you answer every single one of those objections, when people go into conversations with people, they have so much knowingness and so much
Mhm.
confidence in themselves and their
Yep.
product that it becomes so easy because you've removed the internal resistance from themselves when they talk to people. And then they don't have that I'm new and I'm worried thing, because all those objections could be, well, what happens if I'm new or if I'm worried? Or it doesn't even have to be to the product. It can have to
Right.
be to their interaction. And once you nail that, just it becomes so easy.
It
Um,
does, man. We're huge on that in our company, Lance. I mean, we literally train rigorously on sales scripts. Like, hey, if you're doing cold outbound calling, here's the scripts, here's the top 10 objections that we've heard. Here's 4 or 5 different word tracks to get around each objection. We memorize them, we practice them, we game plan them, we role play them. And because it becomes muscle memory, to your point, Lance, like there's nothing, if somebody tells me, hey, this price is too high, got 5 different conversations we can have around that. It's muscle memory. There's nothing you can do that's going to shake me or shake away from my confidence. When we go into those unprepared, or we hear an objection we've never heard before, they can hear the hesitation in our voice. Prospects can, right? And so always being prepared, in season with an answer is huge. So yeah, scripts, we we promote them like crazy. That's actually side shameless plug here, Lance, on Seamless. One of the things that we do offer with a lot of our subscriptions is access to what we call our sales flicks. Our sales flicks is actually hundreds of scripts for cold emails, cold calls, cold LinkedIn messages. We share our templates and our scripts of what's worked for us. We've got 10, 15, 20 different cold call scripts and stuff for overcoming objections. So we share a lot of that content, best practices that my CEO and founder has used over the past to build this company. We share that with our users as well, because obviously we're big believers in it. Scripts, and having the right scripts can take you to the next level, just having muscle memory and handling everything on the fly like that.
I feel like you've been holding out on me. Like,
Yeah, man.
what
That was
did
just,
I just heard about this for the first time.
I'm
Like,
telling you,
you should have
man.
told me that earlier.
Every time we talk, I'm thinking about
You
something different. I'm like, yeah, we can
uh,
help there too, man. We can help there too. It's no, it's part of the fun, man. We've got this product with all these different ways that people of any tenure can utilize Seamless and really just either build a sales career or take their existing great career to the next level. And yeah, I was as you and I are talking, I'm like, man, Lance and I didn't even talk about scripts, but you're exactly right, man. That's a big proponent of what we do, and we certainly share what we put together in the platform as well.
Last question I have for you is,
Yeah.
so what are some of the things that you've noticed, the commonalities
Hmm.
of the fastest growing and most successful businesses? What do they do? How do they think? What have you noticed?
Yeah, so let's start with fastest growing. So fastest growing companies, and we help a lot of them. They're not doing anything new or crazy or wild under the sun, Lance. They just replicate what other fast growing companies have done, right? And I think that's a great business lesson for all of us. Is like we look to what we want to be and we replicate, right? And so that starts with like how that literally is everything from how they structure, build their sales team to like what tools they use to what process they use. It mimics, right? And so I've noticed that CEOs follow other great CEOs, right? VPs of sales follow other great VPs of sales. So replicating success and not necessarily trying to blaze this new wild trail, but just repeated good processes and successes that people have had. That's a huge common denominator I see in a lot of successful businesses. With that, I think knowing or having an identity, knowing the top two or three things that your product, service, solution, etc., does for your buyer, and being so tapped into the needs of your buyer that you could just, I think that's one of the key things is that the companies that I've talked to that grow fast, they know exactly what they do and who they help. And there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, we could help them, but this is the type of organization or this is the type of thing that we do, right? Being really tapped into who my ideal customer profile is and what it is that we do and what it is we sell for them. That allows those companies to then go and take that whole market or take majority of that market because they're so tapped into it, right? When you take a step back from that, Lance, and you go the opposite of that, that's where I've seen companies that are just really struggling. I see companies that don't have a product market fit, right? Or they haven't quite figured out where they play in the market or what really separates them from their competition. So the competition's always catching up for you, right? You do something well and people are always coming for you to do it better than you, right? So if you don't know what truly separates you or you're not constantly evolving, right? Just kind of doing the same old thing. I see that's a big stunter of growth. Obviously not going after your ideal client, right? Not being tapped into who you should be selling to the most in your market. That's a big cause for not growing, right? And lastly, obviously not having enough leads in your pipeline. I mean, when we talk about at the end of the day, Lance, the difference between a company that grows and a company that closes down is revenue, right? And what impacts revenue? It's selling opportunities. It's meetings for your sales team. It's appointments, right? If you don't have enough meetings and appointments, you're not going to close enough deals to have the revenue to stay open or not downsize, right? So what gets you sales meetings and leads? Data, right? You've got to have a team that's actionable and they're constantly calling, they're emailing, they're finding creative ways to reach their market, right? And then where do you get data from? There's a Seamless AI, right? So it trickles down market a lot, Lance, but we kind of get involved a lot of times in companies like, hey, we're calling you, we're trying to save our company, right? Well, what's the problem? We don't have enough deals. We don't have enough revenue, right? Well, where can we find more revenue? How about more sales? Great. What are you doing to sell right now? And then we work our way backwards in that, but it's a common denominator, Lance. If we don't have revenue, we don't stay open, right? So figuring out ways to maximize revenue, keep a full calendar, keep our team fed. A lot of times it'll common denominator is data. So that's obviously why we're big in the market today. But yeah, those are just some things that I notice and encounter on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Well, Jesse, thank you for sharing
Well,
everything about Seamless AI. Thank you for your wisdom and your insights. I appreciated every minute of it. I could stay on the phone for another couple hours.
I know.
Appreciate you, but I encourage everybody, go ahead and take advantage of the 100 free leads here. That is not a normal deal. And check that out. You can get those leads started right away,
Yep.
see how they work for you, and we'll talk again. Thank you, Jesse.
Awesome. Lance, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you again.